I get so into this topic that the 3D world sometimes just slips away. So thank you for that reminder. So yes, there. What we focus on, we get more of. And as depressing as this can be to watch all of this happening, we can't focus on that. We must focus on what we are moving toward, what we want, what is, by being the variable in the equation that brings in that missing piece. And if we are aware of a missing piece, I mean, this is just my take on it, but I've decided that when I become aware of something that nobody else seems to be aware of, then it's my job to do something about it. It's my job to be that variable in the equation that fills that need. At that conference, no one that was there, all supposedly fighting for water, not one of those people understood what I understood. And rather than be shut down, I got bigger. And that's how we can respond. It's like, your inability to see me does not shrink me, does not make me go away. I know who I am. I know what I'm here for. And I will continue to flow nurturing and nourishment along my path, just like the rivers do, until I return to unity. And, you know, when it's needed, it's needed. And there's no logical reason for need to be a reality in a world that has the level of abundance that we have. I mean, how can that even happen? And it just has to do with the limits that we have allowed ourselves. We have not been seen. And over generation after generation after generation, humanity has shrunk because we haven't been seen. And we've decided that, oh, well, I guess I'm not what I thought I was. And if there was ever a time, excuse my French, but to say that's bullshit, it's now. Because it's not the reality. Yeah. Yeah, Christina just said that's not French. That's yeah, and how many of us have come up against roadblocks that are difficult to get by. We all do. But the thing is, this is the beauty of recognizing our unity with the elements, because water doesn't know obstacles. Water will wear down rock if she needs to get through. Water will blow away a wall if she needs to get through. She can go around. When she is determined, nothing can stop her. And by molecular weight, we are 99% water. Where we're about 75 to 80% water by volume, but by molecular weight, it's 99%. So there is no obstacle that we can't overcome. And when we go into that place of pure innocence, when we allow our inner waters to be purified by that cosmic light coming in, we return to a place of pure innocence. And from that place of pure innocence, we move into creativity and awe. And anything that we do through creativity, through that place in us, using the space between the subatomic particles for for men, because that's where that unified field is in all of us. And for women, we have this womb that is an incredible tool long after we've stopped raising children. It's a tool, it's a powerhouse with every resource in it that we need to overcome obstacles. The water that is from the womb of creation, and each of our wombs, the water that is the conduit for birth, is about as powerful as you can get. It creates life. It nurtures life. It nourishes life. It sustains life. And when we tune into that water within us, all of us, and we work with her, and we listen to her, and we acknowledge her, and we love her, we become her. And we have that power. So that's a whole mouthful, and I don't want to do all the talking here. Where are all of you in hearing that and being present with it all? Anyone want to share?
Sister, I have to thank you. And what I'm just recently finally starting to understand is that the fight is not out there.
No.
It's an illusion. We are actually creating it. And it's what I'm learning is that it's more about how intimately, permanently connected can I be to that source? And how much of it can I actually let it move through my being? And I have to tell you, I have been experiencing this on levels I have never encountered before. So it's not just something I'm doing, it's available. And what it does is it puts the power right into our own hands. You're not going to win the war out there because you're fighting shadows. It's not real. Don't buy into it. You have access to this, the field, the source, the waterfall of life, whatever image works for us all. And it's going to be unique to how we exist and have been created. And the more that I'm able to do that, the more everything changes. And by implication, even as I'm doing that here in my own space, I might feel very cut off. I'm not. It's actually cleaning the water around me because that's the truth. And so thank you so very much because you gave your exercise there, gave me access to a key that was missing. And now it's like, oh my goodness. And we're learning how to actually manage all of this energy. And some of that pain, I think, is it when it hits the boundary of my own wounding as a woman.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? But that flow, it honestly, it knows what to do. We just have to allow it.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're literally cleaning up the planet. But it's happening inside of you.
You are so right.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I'll just share in to complement what you just shared. And thank you for that. Yesterday, I shared a conversation I had with the Verde River when I was there. And she said, I asked her the question, how can you flow so continuously, so gracefully in the midst of all this chaos? And she said, this is who I am. This is what I do. And besides, the chaos that you're all experiencing is not what you think it is. It's the imbalance that humanity has created by not acknowledging the complementarity and the reciprocity between the masculine and the feminine, not honoring each other and working together as complements to each other. Yes, water is emotion. It is feminine, absolutely. She is the ultimate embodiment of the feminine. And that power to give life and sustain life is hers. And it's ours because we are, like I said, 99, whether we're male or female, by molecular weight, we are 99% water. And so the hole that was put in the cosmos by humanity, by not honoring that beautiful interconnection between the masculine and the feminine, the positive charge and the negative charge, is the absolute, if you go down to the minutest level, that is the absolute foundation of life. And they must be coherent and they need to be symbiotic, which is that complementarity. And I think we can all agree that in the bigger picture of humanity, that's not happening. And we can change that from within ourselves. So, I mean, I think we've made that point enough so that you probably are all understanding that. And taking that to heart, that truth, all of the chaos and everything that's happening on the planet right now, the purpose that it's serving is to wake us up. And so once we awaken, there's no more purpose for that. It doesn't have to be here anymore because we are aligning with our truth. And the truth is there is no separation. The truth is that everything that we're experiencing, positive, negative, whatever it happens to be, is designed. It's like a recipe that Creator put together so that we can each step into our purpose and fulfill it. And the damming up of the rivers has blocked our ability to think. It has diverted their purpose. And that's thrown the water off balance. She can't think clearly if she's diverted from her purpose. She is single-mindedly focused on nurturing and nourishing all life along her path until she returns to the ocean. And when somebody diverts her path without consulting her, without any communication, it throws her off. Can you imagine? Yeah, undigested trauma. Yeah, for sure. And that's why there's so many gut issues these days. It's all affecting us. And we can heal immediately when we understand that we just need to come back into this place of recognition that we're all one and honoring. When that flow, when we allow, we enhance the flow through our own being when we move into that place of reciprocity, giving back for what we take. And that's a good time to just take your glass of water or whatever you're drinking. Yeah. It brings magic. I mean, when we do that, I expect to start seeing unicorns and dragons again. I mean, it's the return of magic to this world. Humanity has sucked it dry because logic seemed to make sense. And logic does make sense if you're coming from that place, but it doesn't make sense if you're a river, if you're a woman, if your responsibility and your purpose is to nurture and nourish all life. That's a whole different level of logic. So something as simple, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have been thirsty and I just picked up my glass and drank it without blessing the water. But, I'm retraining myself. And so blessing the water that's in your glass, that you're going to be putting into your being from this perspective that we're talking about, is one very powerful way that we can support the water, that we can support the unity, the return to unity. So as you hold your glass of water in front of your heart, and you allow this flow of energy that has been just, what do I want to say? It's just getting bigger and bigger. We've been feeding this energy of the power of the feminine and the water. Let that circulate through you. Feel it. It's alive and well in me. I'm tingling all over right now. I hope each of you are too. Send that tingling energy, that aliveness into the water in your glass with love and appreciation, with honoring. And sometimes the Ho'oponopono prayer comes to me because, yes, I am sorry, water, for everything that you have had to endure. I thank you. I love you. Send our blessings. All that power that we know we have goes right back into the cycle and is put into the water, and it purifies it. Our own intention purifies the waters. And because of that, we don't have the luxury of holding on to guilt or shame or any of those negative energies, because if we do, that becomes part of our frequency. And we don't want to send out that frequency. So purify, so bring that light through you. Purify all the guilt and the sadness and the shame. Keep the message from that. We know that that's critical. Keep the message from the guilt and the shame. There is power in that, but let go of the energy of it so that our frequency can remain pure, so that we can purify the waters. And so with this water now sparkling with our sparkling energy, let's take a drink and know that that cycle is being amplified now through our own being, because we have given to the waters and she is giving back to us. Hold it in your mouth for a moment to let it go directly into your bloodstream. It's like a homeopathic, very powerful homeopathic remedy. Hi, Laura. Thank you for joining us. And we know that unresolved trauma is passed down from generation to generation, and that we carry that. We all tend to have some of that in us. And if that's possible, if unresolved pain can be handed down from generation to generation, we know that resolved healing can also be handed down from generation to generation. And this is the time where we can change that. We can heal our unresolved pain, all that wounding. And we can do that. I mean, I'm done having kids. I'm almost 70, but But when I do that, I send that backwards because it goes beyond time. I send it, and there really isn't a backwards beyond time, but I send it to all of my ancestors so that it heals all of that bloodline. And I send it forward to all of my offspring and my grandchildren. And it heals in all time and dimensions. Yeah. And the grandmothers, I can't even tell you how I imploded with a whole new level of love the first time I looked at my first grandchild. I was very aware that before that moment, I never knew what love was. Not really, because that it just hit me. And so, and grandmother's energy is typically more open. The elders have the experience that that the younger people don't have. I mean, it's through experience. The experiences that we have are our training ground for coming back to center and saying, okay, my purpose is to nurture and nourish all life along my path until I return to unity. And that's that. End of story and beginning of story. So, and those who might be going through menopause, it can be a bear. It can be a struggle. And what I've learned about menopause is that the thinning of the veil is happening. I mean, we go through, in our menstrual cycle, we go through the cycles of the moon. And there are times that we're open and there are times that we're not open. And so men, this may not be your favorite topic, but it's really important that men understand how this works within women, how those cycles are part of our evolutionary gift. It absolutely is. So the thinning of the veil between ovulation and all of every phase of that cycle has a purpose. And when the veil is thin, we are more aware and more sensitive to that which doesn't support the waters within us. And we tend to get emotional about that when we don't understand what's going on. So, you know, that's what we call PMS. It's been called a disease, and there is stuff that you can take to calm that down. But what we really need to know is, okay, why is this not aligned with my inner waters? What is going on here? What is needed? S plus R equals O. What is needed right now by my waters? And when I tune into them, Nella just said that she healed PMS by healing her ancient traumas. And the present situations that show up that set us off are there because that energy of the trauma is still there, and we are being directed to that energy for healing. So during, and there is a collective trauma that all women carry. The mitochondrial DNA of our mothers and grandmothers and their grandmothers and grandmothers, that mitochondrial DNA is passed down through the mothers to sons as well, but it's passed down through the mothers. So yeah, it's like, okay, this is it. This is where it stops. And we each have the power to do that instantly and send it through all time and space, all dimensions, and heal all of those bloodlines. And so going back to menopause, during menopause, that veil is disappearing completely. It's not coming and going anymore. It's disappearing. And everything that is not aligned with our purpose who we are. Anything that does not support our purpose is going to be like nails on a chalkboard to us. We become super sensitized because it's time for us to step into our purpose. If we haven't by then, it's time. And the universe is saying, okay, you got to do this. You are going to be made aware of everything you need to know so that you can fulfill your purpose. And then once we've completed that menopause, we have no more veil. We can see between the worlds. We can know what we need to know. And we have the power of the universe with us because there's nothing separating. That separation is for those of us who are working that, there's no more separation. So that's, and men, like I said, you're 99% water by molecular weight too. So we all have that ability, and we don't have to wait until we're elders to step through that veil. So, you know, it took me that process to get on the other side of it. But I know young people who are just, you know, just disintegrating that veil, and they're there. So Sari, your hand's been up for a little while and I couldn't stop.
It's interesting, and thank you for I was with my mind, I was also on the cycle, but it so coincides with what you're sharing, because my question was actually about, because the earth also has a cycle, and of 13,000 more or less years, like up and down. And I was thinking of the, like, so it's the same as the menstrual cycle. And I was thinking, like, here in the let's say the deepest point, the down point of this cycle, because I recently saw with Greg Braden, he was sharing that actually we are there's also this ice age, and these climate changes are also part of a bigger cycle. And he says the last one, he is a scientist and a geologist scientist, and he was sharing that actually we are now at the point of this next ice age or other. It can be ice age or the heating. And you were speaking about the veil, yeah, being lifted, and then finding your purpose, which I also had my menopause, and I fully resonate with that. And that is a beautiful, very powerful, amazing process of
Yeah.
the elements within you, and the shift of the fire, but anyway, so I was thinking, oh, and now we're at this point of the veil, especially this year, this 24 year, which is such a, or 2024, which is very powerful in its energy. And it just like also just before your menstruation, your the bleeding starts, it's like you know, like, okay, this doesn't serve me, this doesn't serve me. And that's also like, you need your sacred space. And it's like, okay, this I want to let go of, this must go out. You know, you become clear. You come to your center, and then the way I perceive it, like connected with the divine mother, and there, that's the place of purity. It's like a place of purification. So I was thinking, oh, so my question was about that, but you speaking about the menstrual cycle was like, oh, to me, this makes sense in where we are now, also in the collective of the earth. So instead of a question, it became sort of an answer.
Well, that's awesome. And the bleeding of the menstrual cycle is that it's a natural purification process of sloughing off what we no longer need. And for those of you who are still having that cycle, energetically using your intention to support that and magnify the release of all that you no longer need, because everything has a time and a season, and we sometimes we need to feel guilty. I mean, it serves a purpose Once we get the message, we can let go of the energy, like I said before. So, yeah, there's so many levels to this when we really go into the depths of the water. We can go pretty deep. And I find it exciting and exhilarating to be able to have conversations like this with others. Daniel, Atayo, I think everyone else here is female. We're coming up on, can't believe how fast this goes. But we're coming up on the end of our time together. I'm just wondering if you have anything that you would like to share from the male, being the embodiment of a male perspective. It's not necessary, but we would love to hear from you if you want to share.
I'm okay leaving you guys on the stage for this one, to be honest. When I spoke with the water, I had a conflict with my partner this morning, so I was like sort of relating with the water in that aspect to sort of like help me through that.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's just my little tidbit to share, but I've been really enjoying this space and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Tayo. Thank you. Anyone else who hasn't shared yet, who would like to ask or say or offer anything? Yes.
Because you was mentioning men, and I have like an issue with my man here, but like issue, and it's maybe not an issue because he's teaching me of how to take care of myself. And we've been together a lot during New Year and like and Christmas, and like his addictive behavior has been really weighing on my waters. I feel today when we speak, like I feel like, and of course that is also mirroring some part of my addictive behavior. So it's not like I'm just telling like he's there, and I'm just also looking at like where am I heavy on my waters. And I also feel like it's like because we have two places to live, and I suddenly now I feel like I want to retreat to and not be so much with him, and to give myself space, because I'm also in the menopause, the end of menopause, and it's just such a beautiful gathering here now to strengthen that decision somehow to take care. And like what I feel with him, that is he's teaching me of how to take responsibility for myself. So with his behavior, and I can teach him to tell him maybe in a kind way that this is what I badly need, to be in my own space. And yeah, maybe I would like to have some support around how to communicate that in a loving way, so that he knows what I mean, without me hurting his feelings. Because you can't really tell an addict to stop.
No, it doesn't work. Yeah. And that's wise of you to understand that, because there is a hole in all of us. If there's a hole in the cosmos that humanity has put there because of the lack of reciprocity between the masculine and the feminine, then that hole is in all of us. And the masculine, our partners, the ones that we're closest to, are going to be the ones who show us that hole. And when we're shown that hole, we very rarely appreciate it. It's not like, oh, thank you, I forgot that was there, I need to address that. We're like, you jerk. So that's just part of the reality. But when we understand that we are mirroring each other, and sacred partnership is designed to do that. So it can be fiery. It can get really fiery. And that fire is the fire of purification. Unless we go into anger and just get off our path.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like. I feel the heaviness of the waters. Like it feels like if I'm the body of the water of the earth, this is what we're doing to her as well, of refusing to acknowledge ourselves being sacred and beautiful. That's what we do when we are in addictive behavior. We refuse to see the beauty of who we are and trying to get away and not see it, like being blindfolded. And now I don't want to hear, I don't want to see, I just want to kind of have a break into something that is not responsible, really. But of course it was in a long time ago when we were children, but not anymore as grown-ups.
Exactly. But the wounding, the hurting is still there unless it's been healed. And so it's a process. And when somebody once said to me, if there's a monster that lives underground, when is the best time to slay them? And I immediately, I thought about it it took me a fraction of a second. And I said, when it's up, it has to come up out of the ground in order for us to be able to get to it. Yeah. And so each of those wounds are like a dragon that lived there, and they're seething and they're blowing their fire. But when it comes up for air or food or whatever, that's
or
when,
a beer.
Or what?
Or a beer.
Or a beer. Exactly.
Think.
Yeah. When it comes up is when it's time to address it. And it's not always possible to address it in that moment if there's people around or whatever. But once the energy has been up, we have a reference point for that. And we never not know that again. So if it comes up and we can't address it in that particular moment, then the next moment we have to be alone, we let it come up. We call it forth and we talk to it.
Mm.
And we can, I mean, that's the work that I love that work. So that's something that I do in my private practice, but it's very, very powerful. And when we're talking, when we have to communicate something to someone that we care about and we want them to see us and hear us, then it's really critical that we not mask ourselves, that we not go into it on the defensive, hoping that he'll be okay with it, that we show our pure self, that we let ourselves be vulnerable, and we keep an open heart, and we speak from that heart space. And you can speak to his heart, his high heart, knowing that he will hear you, rather than doubting that he will hear you, because that puts out an energy that it isn't consistent with what you want. So sit with what the words that sit with the energy, not with the words, but with the energy of what you want to convey, and move into your heart. Do a meditation just before you have a conversation with them. Go into your heart. Release any guilt, release any of those more negative energies that the intrepidation, I want this to go well, whatever, the concern, release all of it. Just come to him as you. Show him who you are. And speak from your heart. Speak your truth from your heart. Feel the courage of that. It takes courage to do that. And own that courage. So get clear on what your truth is. And then when you do that meditation and speak from your heart, the bottom line is that the way he responds to your truth when you speak it clearly is really none of your business. It's hard to accept that. But if he were, in an ideal world, he'll feel the love, the energy that you're your intention of purity as you speak, he will feel that and respond accordingly. In many cases that happens, but there are some cases, especially with addicts, where they get defensive. They feel coming at them what they don't believe they deserve, and they have to reject it. So if that is how he responds, it's the addiction talking, not him. But nonetheless, that's the response. And that is not, you can't control that. So don't take it personally. Just recognize that it's the alcohol talking. And hopefully you can catch him in a moment when he doesn't have any of it in his system. So that might go better as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's really helpful, all the men, all our meeting here, and the way we were like connecting with the waters as ourselves.
Yeah.
And this innocence and beauty, and yeah, I feel the strength that this loving connection between the light and the water, like the fire and the water within me, how that can communicate. So yes, thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Ah, yes, yes. We'll all be, with your permission, we'll all hold that space for you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Perfect. Anyone else? Okay.
May I share? May I still share or ask something?
Yes, of course, Nella. Thank you.
Thank you for all of the impulses. I just was listening and reflecting, and still wondering. So did I hear right that already with our energy we can move the situations? So it's not necessary to be active, or so, because I wonder about saving the waters. This story from the indigenous people, where he moved back the stones so the rivers could flow again from the Kogi, there was action necessary. So I really wonder in my life what is to do, because I'm sitting here, I'm nearly like not depressive, but yeah, still helpless. And I wonder, so is the way now to meditate and to put the energies and clear the water by energetic influence, or is it more like getting active, getting outside, talking to people, maybe all together? So
Yeah.
I still feel a bit lost, and maybe there's also no answer, and everyone shall find their own way. Yeah,
Well,
still something on my heart now.
if there is an answer to that, I would say it's, as you work on your own inner waters, we cannot give what we don't have. We can want the waters to be purified, and we can envision pure lakes and streams and rivers. But if our inner waters are still contaminated, then we won't be as effective. When we're coming from that pure place, with a pure heart, and we do our own healing work, it happens automatically.
Thank you so much. I'm very touched now. I like having goosebumps, because it's true. And you can feel it when the truth was said. You can feel it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, and bringing myself healed into the world, because I realize wherever I am, simply present, people get triggered so much just by my being me.
Well,
because as soon as we are true, it mirrors to the other something.
That's right.
Where they maybe are not true to themselves. And it's not like I'm pushing or pulling or something. I'm just there, and people get so much triggered by myself.
Well, there are many people who have become comfortable living in darkness within themselves. And when they are confronted with light, it's scary.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh, all people are afraid of me all my life already. I don't want it anymore. Okay.
And I'm just going to say this. I don't think I shared this yesterday, but it's important that each generation comes in at a higher frequency than the one before. That's part of the evolution of humanity. That's kind of a gift that we've been given here. So each generation is higher and higher. And the difference between the generation of your parents and you is what we call a generation gap.
Mm-hmm.
And that generation gap is growing because everything is being sped up at this point in time. And evolution is speeding up. So the difference between the vibration of those being born now and their parents is greater than it used to be.
Yeah.
And so for some women, when they are carrying a baby that has a very high frequency and they have no concept of what they're feeling, it can bring up fear in the mother.
Mm.
And the gestating child feels that fear because you're one with your mother. You feel everything that she feels, you know everything that she thinks. And so there is some generational fear that we carry from that experience in the womb. And that's why we talked about how the womb of creation is still pure. And the wombs of our mothers, my own womb, I mean, I have some pretty high frequency kids. And I didn't understand a lot of this back then, what I understand now. So I'm constantly working on healing that for my daughters and grandchildren. But we take on that fear, and somehow we know that it's related to us. Our soul recognizes it as part of our experience, that it's directed toward us. And the mother doesn't have, like I said, she doesn't have a clue. She just feels something that she's never felt before, and it's weird. And she doesn't understand and doesn't know how to cope with it if she's not awakened. The mothers who are awake, oh, it's heaven to be in a womb with an awakened mother. I mean, I can only imagine, but I've spent time in meditation in the womb of creation, and I actually went there in a car accident when I died, and that's where I went. And so I get it now. So that fear is not conscious, but if you're a high frequency and have had some clashes with your relationship with your mother because of that, take that into consideration and recognize that somebody who is still in their wounding cannot see us for who we are. It's just not possible for them. They just can't. And so it's not, we blamed ourselves for that, and we carry the wounding and the guilt and the shame of that, thinking, okay, when we're young, it's like our parents are God. And if God rejects us or in some way can't see us, then there's got to be something wrong with us. So that wounding is a misunderstanding. Just like the misunderstanding at the Big Bang, when everything thought that it was separate from everything else. It can't be separate from everything else because we're all swimming in the same ocean of unified field. So there's lots of misunderstandings, and they cause pain when we misunderstand something. But that doesn't mean that we need to carry that pain with us for the rest of our life. The moment we recognize that it's not truth, that it never was true, that it was just a misunderstanding, it's like, pop, should have had a V8. I don't know if some of you in other countries will get that, but it's just a commercial here that we grew up with. Should have chosen something else to eat instead of what I chose, that kind of thing. But it's like, okay, now that I understand that, I know, like I said yesterday, I know the pain of not being seen and heard. That's my gift. Because now when I work with people, I have an opportunity to see them for who they are so that they have that experience. And that heals everything. One person seeing you for who you are, all the gifts, all the beauty, can heal all of those traumas. Because all of a sudden it's not true anymore. We get it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I know it's not true since some while. Still, it's making so lonely because, as you said, all the people who are still in their wound will try to not meet me.
That's
because
right.
they get touched, they get triggered. And there's also, of course, there's some who are fascinated by the wisdom. I guess you know this experience very well also. Yeah, so thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a journey. It can be isolating. It can be a lonely journey. And, you know, you make the best of the situation that you're given. You put in what's needed, and what's needed is resilience when people can't see us because the light is too much, and it's like, whoa, I can't handle you. You're too intense, whatever. But it made me resilient, and it made me, when we can't connect with people, we always have the cosmos, we always have nature. And going and hugging a tree, sitting under a tree, feeling the solid support of the tree, seeing the flow of the river and becoming the flow of the river, we become not immune to, I mean, we are creatures of family, of community, but it strengthens us when we can find a source for what we're needing instead of blaming ourselves that we're not normal. Because what the heck is normal? We're creating a new normal on this planet. And we can't do that by being the old normal. So we've got to break out of that. I mean, all of you clearly have, or you wouldn't be here. So I thank you all for your courage, for who you are, for your light, for your deep understanding and desire to reconnect with the earth. It's so beautiful and inspiring for me to be able to hold this space with and for all of you. So thank you. Yes, I mentioned earlier. Okay, yeah, if you put your email in the chat, I will absolutely stay in touch with you, and I'll get it. I can't do that and this at the same time, but I'll get it afterwards. And thank you so much. We'll stay connected. Susan, it's good to see you again. You were here last year and you haven't said anything. Is there anything you'd like to share before we wrap this up?
Hi, Deborah.
It's great to see you.
I get on screen, but I'm just under the weather a little bit. So I was just being quiet. But it's great to be here, and I will be here tomorrow. And I just put very powerful. Everyone speaking and everything is very powerful. And it's very interesting. I was trying to get into this call, and somehow YouTube went to CNN, and there was a huge earthquake yesterday in Japan and many tsunamis. And it was just interesting that I don't even know how it got there. I don't even watch CNN. But I felt something this morning, and I'm like, there was a big earthquake somewhere. I could feel it. And it's just interesting how all the waters were moving, and the tsunami was on the opposite side of the island than where the quake was. And it's just something about the waters moving and how that came up. And
Interesting.
there is generational healing, and if we can heal in this generation, it does ripple back to the past and forward to the future. And I'm going to keep holding that that these waters can be healed. Otherwise, I don't know. It would just be too hopeless, I guess. I don't know if
Exactly.
that's selfish, but yeah, like the woman who said, "Oh, you people who, you in the water, you think, so yeah, I'm really glad to be here, and I put my email in the chat, but I put the wrong email in, so I'm going to write the right one in because I typed it wrong.
Thank you.
But for some reason, I never stayed in touch with you last year, but I'm really glad to be here. So thank you, and I'm going to put my email in right now, okay?
Okay.
And I'll be here tomorrow.
Yay.
Okay, thank you.
Yay.
Thanks, Deborah. Yay.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Deborah,
Yes, Atayo?
may I ask a little question here or explore a line of thought?
Sure.
So all of these artifacts that were taken and then returned that were, withdrawing power from the land, they were all made by humans at one point or imbued with intention by humans at one point. So in lieu of returning all the artifacts, which this one person did, which was amazing, but it sounds so challenging to me, is one possibility creating new sacred artifacts or something like that? Even though maybe these historical artifacts took hundreds or thousands of years to develop, I don't know.
Not all of the artifacts were man-made. Some of them were part of nature. They were like boulders. And
Wow.
I mean, I haven't seen them all, so I don't know. I'm sure that some of them were pottery, but when pottery is made with love, that's part of the reciprocity that gives back to the mother. And it strengthens the connection between humanity and the mother. And when those are taken away with, I mean, it may not be intentional greed, but basically you take something from the land without giving anything back, and something is missing there. So, I mean, even if those things had been taken in ceremony and something was returned in its place, a prayer even, I mean, it doesn't have to be a thing. I mean, just saying a prayer, if you see a rock that you love and it speaks to you, say a prayer. I always, if I do that, I don't do it much anymore, but I'll take the rock. I'll ask if it's appropriate for me to take it. If I get a yes, I'll pick up another rock and I will pray to both of them, and I will leave the second rock there as my offering for what I've taken. And so if that had been done, the earth wouldn't have lost any power. But those things were just taken without consciousness.
But like we did the meditation for our body waters throughout all time, couldn't a ceremony or prayer be done for this thing in the past then?
Yeah, that's,
I'm not trying to
no, you're right. You're right.
force a solution here, but I'm just trying to explore possibilities.
Yeah. Well, and when you just use this this scenario with the Kogi story, think about what all the mining is doing. All the mining all over the earth with the diamonds and everything. So it's an awareness. And I don't know. Yeah, I guess it was just decided that they needed to get them back for whatever reason. I would love to have been privy to their consultations when they came up with that, but we don't really know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now, about the Kogi, there are several films from the Kogi that you can see on YouTube. And I saw particularly because they have been sending out messages to humanity, to their younger brothers. And there's a specific, so one is called Aluna, and the other one is Messages from the Mother, I believe. Maybe that was the first one. And in one of those documentaries, you see a person taking a golden artifact that they made for I think Guacamayo, certain kind of bird that's there in the forest. And this Kogi stands there, it's really heartbreaking, and says, well, if you take it, this population will die. And still this person takes it because he says, I found it. It's like, there's no connection. He's just like, oh, it's gold. I found it. It's beautiful. Now it's mine. So he takes it. And it's really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's that connection that is detrimental to the mother, to the waters. That connection, that loving connection. We are one. The mother has lost her children. And I listened to a Colombian consultation by the elders that said that the mother is beginning to see humanity as an enemy. Her own children are her enemies. That's heartbreaking for any mother. So, so there's a lot of work to be done for sure. It's not hopeless. It's absolutely not hopeless. But there's a lot of work to be done. And we do start by healing ourselves. We work diligently, every opportunity, sometimes, and no matter what happens, if we get triggered, it's like, okay, this is something else I need to heal. I can talk to this part, I can love this part, I can clear this part, whatever is needed. But it's as we do our work, as we purify our inner waters, the earth's waters are purified. So we can, there's a term in English called a couch potato. It's somebody who just sits on the couch all day, watches TV and eats potato chips. Basically, but literally, if we're an awakened couch potato, we can do all of this right from our couch. We don't ever have to leave the couch to heal the earth. Sometimes, for some of us, I feel drawn to go out and educate, remind people that there's something very important missing in the way we see the world, and we need it back. And it's not necessarily, it's as much to our benefit as it is to the mother's and to the water's benefit. Because everything that we're doing to the mother, we're doing to ourselves. And humanity is getting, I don't know if you've noticed, but humanity is getting sicker and sicker. And that's only because the earth is getting sicker and sicker. So we turn that around and our health changes. Talk about preventative medicine. Oh my God. It's a whole new level of that. Yeah. So we really have gone over, but this has been such a delicious conversation. So thank you all. And I'm just going to close with an open heart filled with gratitude for each one of you, for your curiosity, for your awareness, for your deep caring. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep being who you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you all. And hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow. If you can't make it, I will. I need to put a sticky note on my forehead, so when I see myself on the screen, I remember to put the recording on. And any one of you have permission to remind me, because I really do go into another state and it just isn't there. But I do want to record. So thank you. Blessings to all of you. Have a beautiful day.
You too.